Welcome back. All right, so we do have Mr. Bradon Roberts, Tutor Tobago officer, on Zoom. Good morning and welcome, sir.
Good morning, Brother B. Good morning to the viewers and listeners to the program.
All right, I was just worried that we weren't connecting, but however, we are on and let's go. Let's go straight into it. Obviously, the curriculum monitoring. What is it that Tutor having a problem with? What is the real issue? Get into it, put it in context, and then we'll have the discussion.
All right, so first of all, we know that the division would have keen interest in ensuring that the curriculum is delivered at an acceptable standard during this period. In the absence of written policies, Tutor would have been as accommodating as possible with the initiatives being brought about. However, they would have instituted this new initiative whereby they are asking of curriculum officers to be more prevalent in the teachers' classes. For the last term, several teachers complain that sometimes they are teaching their lesson, and when they look in their participant listing, they are seeing a curriculum officer or they are seeing an instructional coach. I raised the issue several times at the division, understanding that, well, probably the curriculum officers and the instructional coaches want to get an idea as to the challenges teachers are facing firsthand, so that they'll be able to provide the necessary assistance. However, it is very uncomforting for several teachers to not know who is in the classroom. Sometimes the communication with such officers, the mannerism isn't there, so they are being called and bullied into their classroom and I need to get a link. And that is not the way in which we're supposed to do things. So yes, we accommodate their assistance. We look forward to the assistance of these officers, curriculum officers, and the instructional coaches. But it's the manner in which they are doing it, which would have been making the teachers quite discomforted.
All right. So let's say that the division came up with, and this is where the principals are saying that they have to be informed prior to any one, just imposing themselves virtually and saying that they are appointed to do or to bring this to the fore. The principals are saying, is it that the principal wants to be informed prior as to inform their teachers as to what to be expected on a daily basis with doing classes?
Actually, that is the procedure. The principals are the HODs, head of departments, and the vice principals are the ones who are supposed to monitor the curriculum delivery. Curriculum officers who will look forward to their assistants and the instructional coaches are to liaise with the principals, who would then communicate with the teachers, provide that link, and arrange for such to take place. Okay. So it is not that we do not want assistance from curriculum officers. We need their assistance. They are the experts. But we are looking at procedure, not because we have this new initiative of the remote teaching and learning that we're going to just do this all willy-nilly and discomfort something that should be of great assistance to many of our teachers.
All right. So have Tutor reached out to the division to put that on the table and to say, except I'm reading in your press release, that is exactly what you're asking for. However, has there been that communication with the Division of Education here in Tobago or throughout is it that Tobago thing is a national thing?
It's Tobago.
Tobago, all right. So from a national standpoint, you would have communicated with your colleagues and they are aware of this?
Yes, they are. Actually, it's happening in Trinidad to some extent, but not as prevalent as in Tobago. We would have raised the issue at the level of the ministry and even with the minister. And even at those levels, they would have agreed that it is the responsibility of the principal, head of department, and vice principals to assist in the monitoring.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's stay with the monitoring, all right? All right, so classes are ongoing, and I have eavesdropped on my granddaughter in class, and I'm very impressed with the level of communication and the clarity, and the children understand. As a matter of fact, she got a B, and so on. So, but just going on, and I'm saying it's working well, given that students are not being left out, they are not being left behind. I'm trying to understand how this butting in, based on what we are seeing here, how does that, because I'm trying to understand how the monitor, the curriculum monitor, I'm trying to understand how do you get in? Or is it that you inform the teacher, they inform the teacher, not the principal, as you said, and then eventually just show up in the class? I don't know, tell me.
So what prompted the release is that they would have sent a letter to the principals asking for all teachers to provide the links to their classroom, also the cell phone contacts for the teachers, and that way they would have that level of access. Now, some of the teachers, based on the platform you're using, once you have the link, you would have access to join. There are some like the Zoom.
Okay.
You would have control over what letting in someone into your classroom.
Right.
And some persons allow the entry to be open so that when they are teaching, they will have to stop to enter a child because they're so busy into the delivery of the content.
All right. Let me get. I mean, I think I know, but I want to share with the public. Let's say you as a teacher and the subject this morning is English. You have, I want to get how many children are on Zoom or whatever platform they're using at one time? How many children are accommodated in a classroom virtually?
Well, it depends on the class size. I think Zoom has the capacity to range as much as 500 persons, but we don't have such in one classroom. So it's based on the class size. So an average class and for English in the secondary school would be in the 30s, close to 40.
All right. Let's say a child has Mrs. is conducting lessons that you put if it's a plural or singular, whatever she's dealing with thing, subject and a child has a concern or didn't understand. That child can say, Miss, interrupt her while she's and say, look, I didn't understand. I want you to go over that, and there is an immediate response. Tell us how it works from that standpoint.
It depends on the platform. I know, for example, Zoom, there's a raise hand feature. At this time, I know several teachers would pause in between time to ask us a specific question because we have to also look out for the students who would not say, Miss, I don't understand. So it is more difficult now in the face-to-face. You can look at the faces and know, well, this particular child didn't grasp what I would have just explained. However, there's a raise hand feature in Zoom, for example. And then it would be for the teacher as well, whether even if it's asynchronous, say it's not a live session, where teachers are making themselves available via the phone to the parents or the students, depending on the age range, and they would have to reach out. You may ask specific questions to gauge whether these persons understand or not, and then you will be prompted as to whether you need to go over that particular topic again.
All right. So I'm reading here. It has never been the practice of curriculum officers to do clinical supervision nor lesson monitoring. There is no knowledge or there's no history of that. Given that has never been done before, and the fact that they are imposing this on classes and so on, how do you resolve that? As you said, you need monitoring, but I want to get to how do you accommodate that in a classroom setting? Or is it that the teachers are to get the information before and then, or they just show up in the, how do you bring that to making it work?
All right, well, what would have happened in the past, even in the face-to-face, communication would have been had with the principal and then with the teacher, and then an arranged time is set up for the curriculum officers to come to the school, whether they meet at the staff room or they meet within the session itself, depending on the request of the teacher or the particular request of the curriculum officer. What would have happened also, teachers may have communicated their challenge with a particular topic which would have prompted the visit by the curriculum officers or instructional coach. The principal may also communicate a particular challenge with a subject area that they would want the intervention of a curriculum officer. I would acknowledge, though, it is not that the curriculum officers, in my interpretation, have ill intent with this. It's just that I believe it's the excitement, and I don't know if it's over-eagerness, that we are flouting some of the practices. And when I say curriculum officers, it may not be all the curriculum officers, as I would have, they are also our members, and some would have reached out to me indicating that they are surprised to see such a response from the union. But I would have been raising this with the division since September. There were some unfortunate comments at the time indicating that, well, we would have to do what we have to do as an association in combating it. So when I realized this term start off the same way, I would have then had to make the release because some teachers would be quite eager to have such persons, but it's a turn off for the teachers who are going over and beyond to see that they are being bullied into providing this link to anybody. I mean, I could always type my name as one of the curriculum officers that enter a class.
Okay.
We had a bugging in the earlies. Thankfully, that will have tempered down a great deal as time progressed.
Okay. All right, well said. All right, well, we got that out of the way. All right, so let me bring in the virtual thing a little more, but I just want to get into schools. I want you to remind us as to the government intend to open schools physically. The classes that are supposed to be open, and how ready was the preparation for Tutor treating with that reality? Give us the date, the time. I can't remember it right away, but tell us when these classes, I think it's secondary schools, and tell me what is the preparation like, and give us date and time.
All right, so the initial plan is that for February 8th, we would have the exam classes inclusive of the Form 4s, because we know that SBAs would be something that you have to be out in the school for the most part to be able to complete. So it would have been the standard 5s in the primary school and 4, 5, and 6 in the secondary school. However, in meeting with the minister, it was highlighted that we will still need to get the go-ahead from the Ministry of Health. So while they have the plan in place, it is not a go until the Ministry of Health provides that assurance that we can go ahead.
All right. Well,
in the meantime, however, we had a meeting with the division yesterday, and we were going through some of the guidelines and to ensure that the Tobago is on par, because we do not want a situation where ministry is planning and then when they release what is to take place, Tobago is playing catch up. So thankfully, we have persons from the division who be a part of the stakeholders meeting, and they are on par with what is taking place, and we got the confirmation even yesterday, and even highlighting some of the things that they are aware of that they need to get done. In terms of my level of optimism, in terms of school being ready, I know that there are a lot of school plan issues that may make it challenging. However, the fact that it's a specific group coming out, they may do something similar to what took place for SCA preparation, where at least they ensure that certain areas of the school is fit for the particular grouping to come out. I'm particularly pleased with the information provided by the administrator and the PIU team in that the labs, which I would have raised issue about in the Tobago space. I mean, we like to talk about the performance of the students, not knowing the challenges that we face in Tobago in comparison to those in Trinidad. And we were informed that the IBATs, the gas lines were fixed, the fume hoods in the labs, all those were installed. The only issue at this time would be to ensure that the air quality testing for those labs, especially that they would have been closed for a significant time, is an acceptable state, or if it is not, that necessary is done to treat with what existence of mold there may be. So those would be the things that they would need to work on as soon as possible. But in terms of readiness, it seems like the division would have done enough to see at least this particular group be able to fit. So we have to do further investigation, liaise with the principals to see what additional work needs to get done for us to advocate on that behalf.
All right. Well, obviously, Tutor has to, safeguard its membership and its teachers, right? Obviously, COVID-19 is a threat to everyone. Each child has to be safe, of course, observing the protocols. Has there been, February is right around the corner, obviously, in terms of how the protocols are to be observed, what measures are put in place, or what you have planned to put in place, the monitoring of your temperature. Tell us what is rolled out, or what is intended to be rolled out in February when schools open for Standard 5 and so on.
All right, so in terms of the entry protocol and the safety measures to be put in place, it would be challenging to say that these safety protocols or entry protocols would be anyway foolproof. The heat scanners, for example, scanning the temperature, it's more of a measure to catch the persons who are symptomatic, those persons who have the fever. But what about those who are asymptomatic, who don't have a temperature? They come in, and we know that they are also able to spread the virus. So there are measures to minimize, I would say. However, if we have to stand firmly that until we can have full proof that the virus would not enter our school, we will never reopen. So
but are you confident? Yeah.
We are. Go ahead.
No, you finish. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So we are trying to work with the ministry's guidelines, and we are trying to ensure that as much is put in place. Our concern is that as students enter, let's say for the secondary schools, 4, 5, and 6 are coming out. So that should be close to, let's say, over 100 students. How are we going to man the gate? We are not getting the information as to who would be there manning the gate. We can have the teachers doing the same when they have to go and teach and monitor the children when they get into the compound. So I'm hearing that they're going to have a nurse in each district, but one nurse for all those schools in the district. When a child gets sick or you have a temperature, what then? What next? We make the call to that nurse, and then another school call and say, we'll have a child here that we have a concern. How do we balance that one nurse? Or if, let's say, we have 2 nurses, how do we balance that in all the schools in a particular district? So there are some things that they have to work out. To me, they would have been trying to cover as much areas as they can, but there is much cause for concern. But we are trying to work with the principals as well, communicating with the principal to see how much of the guidelines they can have put in place. The division will have to provide the resources, and that's where the union comes in as well. We will liaise with the division and with the principals to see how much would be done between and the 8th and then moving forward.
All right, let's stay with your concern. A cause for concern is what you said in your last sentence there. And let's go to that. Standard 5 children are children. For them to be observing the protocols, as it were, that's going to be a difficult task in terms of social distancing and so on. Are you confident that schools should be standard 5 and the classes for exams and so on? Are you really confident that your cause of concern? I mean, tell me, are you confident and convinced that this is a wise move?
Well, I am placed now between a rock and a hard place because in terms of not opening, now we are not certain what level of learning or how in-depth the learning is in the virtual space. We have responses from the students, but how genuine those responses are. Are they getting assistance from home in the school? They're on their own. And we know for sure that the responses will be genuine unless we have students who are able to probably take a peek at a child's work. But other than that, we are not as sure of the responses to say, well, right, each child in this particular class grasps all the concepts. Because, I mean, online, I'm talking to you here, I could easily go to Google and Google some answers to whatever question you have to ask me. So we need to get the students out. But then we have the issue of health and safety, which we cannot sacrifice to get the children out. Health and safety is paramount. What I would have submitted, even at the level of the ministry and even with the minister, is that they do the ads, do the same way we have the child protection unit talking about good secret and bad secret and so on. Do the ads, let the children see how they need to be when they get out. It is not that you tell a child, do not do something and then they just be disciplined and obedient and don't do it. So we need to culture them as to what is expected of them when they get out. Okay. We had all the guidelines for the essay preparation period, and that had to be shut down because you will talk to these students. Some of them still want to exchange masks, and especially when we have fancy masks now, who mask more than who, and then they want to exchange. And we need to culture the students, and they need to do these kind of ads at least to let them see what is needed when they get out.
All right, good. Right, so those are real issues, and I hear you with that. Those children will be children. They haven't seen their friends in how many months and so on, and they will congregate. That would be very hard, and I'm sharing your same concern. And as a parent or parents out there who are listening, and just go to the ads, the story about advertising or promoting. Ensuring that children maintain the distance and so on. How do you? Well, I mean, you're saying put ads in the press or in the media as to get parents and children as to have their children conduct themselves in the school population. How do you intend to rule that out? Are you intending, or is it a suggestion that you're making?
It is actually a suggestion. When I made it at the level of the minister would have noted it. However, I know that time is going, and it would not be a one-day ad. It's something that is a reculturing you're doing. Mm-hmm. So from now, you need to, just as I mentioned before, just as would have had children do the good secret and bad secret. I would have seen that on the media, in the news, when they have the news break and so on for some time. Mm-hmm. Now we're in the election phase, so I know that persons have the election campaigns and so on during the period. But they need to organize such where you would have students simulate what being in school, and you tape it and you give the advice. So at least they are seeing it. We know that it is better learned when they see it than if they just hear it. Mm-hmm. And then practicing is the higher level of that level of learning. Mm-hmm. But at least that should be done where you do these kind of art and simulate the school system. So at least even at home, the parents seeing it could always use it as a reference to say, all right, so you see what you just saw there, ensure that you follow such and so on. But the students have nothing to reference at this time, more than the words of the parent or words of our teacher telling them what to do when they come out. But the excitement when you see your peer in the flesh for a long time, you haven't seen that person. That tendency is like, I know fist pump and handshake, or not even handshake, or elbow bump with those students, they go in and hug and run and play and all upon and together with each other.
Yes. All right. Well, just to go back to, as we close, I want you to just speak to the division as to the relationship you want to build with your teachers, as to communicate properly, and you don't just impose yourself with your curriculum on the on the platform. But in closing, just speak to them as to have a cordial and a nice relationship as we educate our children.
All right. So first of all, I would say thankfully I already have a good relationship with the division. I am there pretty often. I speak with the same curriculum officers and with supervision unit. Now there's another issue on that same release where we had the supervision unit providing documents for the principals to use in gathering data to do their report, which is also becoming burdensome because these documents are asking of teachers to repeatedly put information that the principal already know. So is it that we want teachers to stop from the teaching to sit down and be filling out forms to send the same information the principal already know to the principal to then do a monthly report to the division? So we raised at the meeting yesterday. It was indicated to me that they are open to tutor coming in and have the sit down and so on. So as I'm there pretty often, I expect that good sense will prevail eventually. And I trust that the interests of the teachers and the interests of the division would merge to the point where the education system is enhanced and the curriculum is delivered at the highest level as it can during this time.
All right, Mr. Bradon Roberts, sorry. We want to thank you very much. All the best to you, my brother.
And to you and the family and to the viewers and listeners, Happy New Year to all.
Yes.
And wish that we will have a productive year this year.
Of course, 2021, man. Of course. Thank you, my brother. All the best. All right. And again, 2021 will be a good year. They say an odd number. I don't know. But anyway. And of course, we're getting rid of half of the evil in the world today with the swearing in. I said evil because clearly what we saw there a couple of weeks ago with the behavior of a particular mindset, and that's what that is. That it means to do evil to the world, and God has created all equal and so on, and we ought to try to live by that, those instructions. Yeah. All right, let's go for morning news. When we come back, the lines will be open. See you then.
Looking for deckpans? No more trips to Trinidad for deckpans. Richards Hardware is now manufacturing deckpans right here in Tobago. Cut to any length and same-day delivery. We also supply premixed concrete for residential and commercial use. Line pump and boom pump available. Also in stock. Pressure-treated lumber, Bestcrete concrete blocks, hollow clay blocks, BRC, steel, sand, gravel, and all other hardware supply. Corner Milford Road and Orange Hill. Or call us at 310-1289-635. 685-0169 or 683-8250. We meet all your needs.